So once again, welcome everyone to our uLaw onboarding session. The goal for today's session is about a quick 30 to 45 minute session is quickly introduce you to the company, but more so jump into showing you the product. And we want to thank you for registering for our 30-day trial. As you go through the trial process, we want to be able to give you all the tools necessary so that you can equip yourself with the right information to maximize the use of your trial, as well as give you a video recording of this particular presentation where we'll run through a simple use case of how you would use uLaw in a very generic use case manner on a day-to-day basis to docket your time, effort, invoice, etc. Okay? So a quick introduction to who we are as a company. We are a Canadian company that delivers a legal accounting and practice management software. In addition to legal accounting and practice management, we also have our own business accounting component to the product, meaning we are a QuickBooks inbuilt. So if you really are looking for a way of managing your business, then you have all of that in a one-stop shop. So with uLaw, you technically don't need a QuickBooks to manage your business. Okay? So we are one of the most trusted practice management and legal accounting solution in Canada. And the purpose of our existence is to truly provide a quality product and enable legal professionals across Canada have control over their practice, business operations, and all the data that's required to be a successful business owner as well as a legal professional. Okay? That's truly, I want to run through this real quick. And before jumping, we can talk about the problem and what we're looking to solve, but truly we're looking to solve the problem of providing a convenient, cost-effective, and a compliant solution that's Canadian hosted and on the cloud for all legal professionals in Canada to manage their day-to-day activities of their business. And compliance, I would underline that because a major component of uLaw is that all of the documents that we generate are pretty much off the bookkeeping guidelines, keeping Law Society compliance across all provinces in mind. Okay. Before I jump into specific products and the roadmap of what I want to walk you through today, our customers are small legal offices or law firms, size of 10 or less now. We've obviously evolved over time. But a big core focus that's really passionate that we are about are the sole practitioners. Anyone who's just started their legal business as an entrepreneur, someone who's been in the industry for long, has worked for firms, and is just setting foot to start their own practice. So our goal fundamentally was to empower solo practitioners have the same power of a large law firm, right, within this one convenient package. Whereas we're also serving small law firms today, practice size 10 or less. Okay, so really quick, this is the workflow that I want to walk you through today. Okay, how across the life cycle of uLaw are you able to walk from client intake, right, doing everything that you need to do to conflict screen the individual, make sure there's no conflict in representing that client, creating a matter, a Law Society client file or a matter. We'll take the example of using a retainer as an example where you deposit funds in your trust account. We'll do some dockets, disbursements. We'll generate an invoice. Yeah. We'll do the trust transfers from your trust account into your general account. And we'll show you all the ledgers that we've created along the way. Okay. This is really what I wanted to focus in today's onboarding session. We're actually going to have another onboarding session next week. Part 2, that will focus on the accounting aspects, the business accounting aspects, how you would enter business expenses, how you would go about generating reconciliation reports, trust ledgers, etc. Okay? So with further no delay, let me jump into a playground account that I would like to use today. Now, thanks to your 30-day trial registration, you do have access, or we've given you access to 2 accounts. One is your own account with the account name, the preferred account name that you signed up with. Now, we appreciate if you can use that predominantly to bring in your own client information as well as real business expenses, okay? And use the playground account. We've probably given you the Jason Bourne or Jason Practice account, so use that account to play around with the software. Just get acquainted with it, replay this video that we'll be sending you today, and just get yourself familiar, okay? The product remains to be the same, so you're presented with the 7 menu options, like the 7 days of the week, your dashboard, which is really your landing page, which allows you to maneuver within the product and get around quickly. It's a quick reminder system as well, and also highlights any matters that require an invoice to be generated. Okay, that's the best way to get started with how you can make money. And here's a quick reminder of all the matters for which you seem to have put in the docket or the disbursements. You're eligible to raise an invoice, but you still haven't done so, right? So that's what this little square represents. Now, the contacts is truly where you get started with storing people information with an address. This could be people, companies, and the contacts predominantly would be your clients. So when you're looking to add, let's say, a new contact, this is where you get started with adding a new client. But keep in mind, this is also where you would add contacts who are not your clients. You are now able to group these contacts who may be parties in a matter. Could be a landlord and tenant board situation where you're representing the landlord, but you also have the information of the tenant. And for many silos of paralegal practice and for a few silos of law practice across Ontario, uLaw, in fact, also has an automated court form generator, okay, for small claims, landlord and tenant, to criminal law, to family matters. So adding the contact information allows us to then repurpose that within a matter as parties, where we then populate all of these court forms that you have to generate automatically. Then comes our quick view. Quick view is just a fast and easy way for you to search for any matter-related information. So if you're specifically searching for a file with a name, you can type that in. So in this case, I've typed in Indiana. So anyone with that name pops up real quick. We do give you the opportunity to classify matters as active, closed, and archived so that you can segregate your time to focus only on the active files, where the closed and archived files will continue to exist in our database and will be used for conflict screening purposes, okay? And here is the menu option, which is the king of all, which is predominantly where you would spend a good majority of your time in uLaw, and that is the matter button or the matter screen. And this is where we're going to quickly walk you through how you would create a file, and this is where all the action happens. Creating the file, generating retainer letters, inputting retainers into uLaw, right? Docketing, dispersing, invoicing, doing trust transfers and accepting client payments. So that whole life cycle that we looked at would be what you look into. Let me jump into real quick. There you go. So the whole life cycle of creating a file, depositing funds in the trust account, all of that would be within this life cycle. The accounts is where we're going to be spending in our session. The next part 2 session is where we focus on how you are able to use your accounts, whether it's for legal purposes, whether accounts that are for specific to office expenses. How would you input office expenses? So we've got the entire chart of accounts, as you see, similar to what a QuickBooks would have to manage your books. And all of the Law Society's accounting compliance documents, right? All that under one single panel called compliance. That's pretty much something that you generate on a monthly basis, okay? The calendar is something that you would use for both personal reasons as well as for your legal work, okay? You can quickly differentiate between the two. You can just say hide my legal work or time dockets, and that's your personal calendar. or you can bring them back. Now, this calendar can also integrate with our own app. So today we do have an iOS app as well as an Android app available on your Play Store that you can download and use the same credentials. Okay. So moving along, the last but not the least, you have a very powerful analytics engine or a reporting engine over and above documents. These are analytics that law firms spend a lot of manual effort to generate so that they can make informed decisions about their business. They use these insights so that they can strategize and refocus their energies in growing their business. And we offer the same power of a large law firm to you as a solo practitioner or as a small legal firm right within the uLawPractice product. So for example, if you wanted to know, all right, I want to know by category or by area of practice, how has my legal firm done this quarter? So starting from January 2018 to March 2018, I really want to know what's happened so far, right? So you can do so, and all you need to do is have a quick look at the pie chart, and you know right away that about 24% of your business this quarter came from contracts, about 30% came from personal injury, about 13% came from expenses, from client expenses that are recoverable, right? And now you can compare this, if you like, to a specific month. So for example, compare this with the month of February and say that, all right, so in February, a good part of my business has come from contract, okay? So just by a click of a button, based on the data that you've provided as you enter it into uLaw, what we give you back are these powerful decision points or data points in the form of analytics that empowers your practice so that you can take this data, this information, and then repurpose it through strategies to improve and grow your practice, okay? Alrighty. So just to get started, let's say you've got the trial, what do I do next, right? So if your situation is that you actually have clients that have already started approaching you, and you obviously need to give them an invoice for the work that you've done, you've come to the right place, because it can get easier than doing that in uLaw. So let's take, my simple example that I always use of a small claims matter. Obviously, I've been told to use more complex matters, which I will incorporate in the upcoming sessions that I conduct. But for today, for purposes of time, let's start with the simple small claims matter and how we would walk that through that life cycle we spoke about. Okay? And again, I remind everyone who's joined me today to use the chat window to ask any specific questions that you may have. As the first step, I would go into my contacts panel. I would click Add New Contact, right, that you see right here. And I would add to my clients group my first client. So let's say this is one Mr. Henry Gonzalez. Okay. An important piece of information that we ask you to provide during this client intake is how did Mr. Henry get to know you, Roger Moore, as the legal professional? You could say this is maybe a Law Society referral, right? I know the Law Society does a lot of good work in providing early entrepreneurs with some referral programs. You could say that. This could be anything. Of course, we've got a huge list of options here. So let's go back to the Law Society referral. The Law Society obviously needs you to capture a communication address, so let's put that in. Just say 91 King Street, Toronto, Ontario. I'll say Canada. Now you are able to add multiple addresses by just clicking this little add button. So I'm just going to go ahead and say it's 93 Queen Street. But I'll call this particular address as my work address, this as my home, but I'll mark my work address as the mailing address that I want to use. And the mailing address is very important that you mark at least one of them. In fact, you can only mark one of them as a mailing address, but we request that you mark it as so, because that's the address that gets used across correspondence, across your invoices, as well as your court forms. Okay. Now, also use the phone information to put in your phone numbers. Today, uLaw has our own iOS as well as the Android app. If you download it, it's free of charge. You can download it from your Play Store and then start to use it almost as your legal phone book. Okay? And today, in the Android platform, for example, we give you the opportunity to docket these phones that you made to your clients and quickly docket them as a billable docket in your matter too. Something that's pretty cool. And I've clicked on the Save button. So as you can see, it's going to save that contact. It's going to refresh that particular contact and bring back Henry Gonzalez as the newly added contact, the client. And in uLaw, only for any contact that you've added within your client's group would you be able to see this Matter button. So for example, if I go into my friends group, I see Simon Garfield. I don't see a Matter button for Mr. Simon. Okay? The quick answer to your question, can I access my contacts from the phone? Absolutely yes. You are able to. You can in fact import contacts from your phone book into uLaw as well. And you can add contacts on the phone, and you can do all that good stuff. You can also use our search, and you can type in any that you like. Gonzalez, so here's Mr. Henry Gonzalez. Now before I get started with creating a matter, let me go back. You want to create a compliant file, but prior to that, you want to perform what they call as a conflict check. Okay? That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to hit the action button within the contact. And do you see this conflict screening button? Click on it. Now you can check for just first name, last name conflicts, or you could use the really powerful engine of uLaw to check if you've ever created a matter for someone like Henry, and if you've ever come across someone like Henry Gonzalez. And just hit the conflict screening button. So again, it was under the contacts action and conflict screening button. That's a very important second step after you've created a client to ensure you do conflict check before you create a matter or a client file. Okay? And the step truly is so that you can ensure that you're completely aware of the risks involved, if at all, in representing this client, and if there's any conflict in representing him or her. Okay? The Playground account that I'm using obviously has a lot of data in it, so that's one of the reasons why it's taking that long. But in the case of your individual client information, it shouldn't take that long. So here is a quick conflict screening report, and you can see there's a few Henrys that uLaw has highlighted, and there's a few last name conflicts such as Speedy Gonzalez, and there's another Speedy Gonzal and Gonzalez, and there was also some first name, last name conflicts. So you could quickly jump into uLaw and search for Henry Ford. Obviously, this is the point where you would make an informed decision. We also put in the date when you did this as well. So let's say you've done the logical reasoning, made the decision as to why this is not a conflict, and you want to move forward with creating that Law Society compliant file. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. To do that, to create a new file, you would click on the Matter button. Okay. It seems that some of my friends are not able to see my screen. I'm just going to try and reconnect real quick. And truly the goal is once you've created this contact to be able to go create a Matter file by clicking on the Matter button. And I do apologize for the inconvenience. Let me reconnect my internet so that I'm able to start my session again. You can just bear with me for a quick minute. There you go. Sorry about that. So let's move on and click on the Matter button to create a brand new file or a matter. Okay. Now there's two pieces of information we ask for right away. One would be the area of practice. What area of practice do you think you'll categorize this file as? Because we have friends, legal practitioners who do focus on multiple areas. So let's say this is a small claims. I'm going to type SM, and let's give it a simple title. Okay? So we'll say it's a slip and fall. And we'll go ahead and click the Save button. Now what's that going to do is it's going to save the matter to your cloud. It's going to give you a file number, and this would be a Law Society compliant file numbering system because it is a unique referenceable file number that's always cross-referenceable as well. And under document generation, you can go ahead and start to generate any retainer letters that you may need. Okay, so we have a few samples of retainer letters that you can generate in Word. You can put in your initial retainer amount as well. And we'll even create a flat rate one for you. You can generate Word, PDF, whatever you choose. Obviously, if you generate it in Word, you can simply tweak it. So here's a sample where you can incorporate your own banner and logo. Talks about the description of service, the $500 acknowledgement of the retainer receipt, right? So let's say you've signed a retainer letter either let's go ahead and let's say you signed this retainer letter. We're just going to incorporate and you've received that $500 maybe as a check. So you'll have to tell the bookkeeping software that you've received it. So to do that, you would hit the action button and say new retainer and basically say the amount, how you received it, maybe put the check number in, deposit it into your trust account, give the client a receipt, and hit apply. It's as simple as that to quickly enter that retainer that you just received from your client. Okay? And here's a quick receipt that you can give your client as well. Now you can notice right now the projected balance says it's $500. And it says it's refund payout only because if you were to non-engage your client at this time, that's the amount of money that you may have to refund your client. Okay? And that's the only reason for that. Now let's move on to kind of the next step where you bucket your effort and you can put in the disbursements. We'll take some simple examples for a small claims matter. Now in uLaw, obviously, you can docket in many different ways. So I'm going to show you a few ways that you can do that. I'm going to say, okay, let's put in the time, today. I'll say initial client meeting. You can click on description and add a little bit more descriptive information about that particular work you did. Okay. Client. And you can bulletize it, hit apply. And there's two pieces of information we capture. The actual time that you spent on it and the time that you want to charge your client. Okay, sometimes they may defer, right? And then you just hit save. That's going to obviously take the 1 hour at a $100 rate. That's copied over from your settings. Okay, so if you go into your settings, taxes and rates, your default fee rate is $100. That's what it's copied over. But on a matter-to-matter basis, as long as you've not raised an invoice, you can obviously go and change that rate right away, as long as you've not raised an invoice yet. Okay? Because once you raised an invoice with a particular billable time, then you pretty much have locked down that rate. Now let me show you some other examples. So let's say the second one was a document draft. You can say this was flat rate fee. Notice that. You can see where you spent 30 minutes on this. You can now go ahead, use this little down arrow, and toggle this entire docket to be a flat rate docket where you charge a dollar rate instead of the time. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. You also have some special docketable buttons. For example, you have contingency, where you can put in what the total contingency was, your percentage, and it automatically calculates the amount. Okay, that's one type of docket. You can do stop clocks. If you're especially having a phone conversation, you can basically stop, fast forward, and basically dock this as a telephone conversation, right, and docket it right into the Henry Gonzalez matter. Now, many of our friends today also do flat rates. So there's always the opportunity for you not to docket and bill by the hour, but you just mention all of that and go ahead and make one final docket as a flat rate too. So you can do that as well. Okay? But as you continue to docket, let's put a disbursement too. You notice that the projected balance keeps reducing as well. So let's quickly put a disbursement, for which I'll say disbursement, add new disbursement, paid from my general. Let's take application fee as an example. And let's say this was maybe $75, and I'll say it was tax exempt. And the bottom part, the top part obviously is the disbursement to your client. The bottom part is, because we are a business accounting software too, this is the part where you would tell your firm or you would tell uLaw how you paid for this. First, who did you pay this to? Ministry of Finance. How did you pay for it? Did you pay it off your general account? Did you pay it off your owner's pocket? This was your own money? Or was this paid to one of your colleagues? Right? I'm just going to say it was a check that you wrote from your general account. And you could even print that check from uLaw. Okay? You go ahead and hit save. Now obviously that amount is going to make the projected balance over and above the initial $500 retainer that they provided you. So basically the client, Henry, owes you $38 over and above the $500 retainer he gave you. Okay, so uLaw pretty much manages all the various different complex rules that may occur on a day-to-day basis. Now, so basically you had multiple dockets, you had a disbursement, right? You had a billable time, flat rate, you also had a phone conversation, and you were able to change the rates. You also had a disbursement for an application fee, got a retainer. Now, as you notice, one of the important messages we give you is that there's an invoice pending. And if you click on the link, it tells you, you haven't raised any invoices yet. Now, if I go back to my dashboard, as I mentioned to you, I have this little square that tells you of all the matters for which you've not yet raised an invoice. Obviously, Henry Gonzalez is one such example, right? So you would just go ahead, click on that, or if you're collaborating with others in your firm, this is exactly what you would do. Now, the final step in the puzzle is, or the last but not the one step, is to raise that invoice, which is the formal document to showcase your effort and money you're asking for. So to do that, you would go to Document Generation, Invoice. We highly encourage you to do a pre-bill. Okay? A pre-bill is just for your eyes only, does not generate an invoice number. It's so that you can review what an invoice would potentially look like before you generate one. You could use any of our themes. Anything above the uLaw theme incorporates your logo and banner. Let's say I do my winter theme. I'll just do a quick preview. So you do this preview, make sure that it looks good, or if it's a legal firm, you would have your assistant do this, send it to you so that you can review it. It tells you all the piece of information you need, the title, the file number, the tax number, the date, the amount due. Puts a little watermark so you don't accidentally send it to your client. Obviously, it doesn't have an invoice number either. There's $200, another phone conversation for 18 minutes, and your flat rate of $150, giving you a $463. That's really supposedly our winter theme. It's also a running bill, so it tells your client everything that he needs to know. There's your application fee, as well as any touch points on your retainers. So that was that retainer that he paid you earlier today. Okay? All in all, it tells him that basically he owes you $30 over and above the initial $500 in trust that he paid you. You like the pre-bill, final step to generate that invoice. So to do that, you would hit invoice. Instead of the pre-bill, you hit complete. You can choose the same theme or maybe a different theme. Choose the date, and you can always pre-date this if that's the case. And you would hold the invoice button. This is the only step in uLaw where it's a two-step process. You would wait for it and hit the download button. Okay? Now that you've clicked on the download button, this is going to generate an actual invoice, which has an invoice number. And you can see this is a slightly different theme. Doesn't have a banner, but kind of a more neater look. You'll see the same amount due, an invoice number, same piece of information. Okay? And you basically sign this and send it to your client. Now the last step that you have to do is once you raise that invoice, you see the status now changed to no pending invoice. And if I were to click on it, it does highlight that one invoice that we just raised. Now you can always reprint it in a different theme, just in case your client lost his original email or the printed version. You can always reprint it, right? But more importantly, if you look at this jumping question mark, it kind of really is the last step in the puzzle. If I were to click on it, it tells you everything that you need to know about this matter, especially any steps that you may have to take in this matter to make your money. Okay? So obviously there was a $500 deposit in trust. It has not been withdrawn, and that's the total balance as of today, as uLaw knows it right now. And there was an invoice for $538.30, right? Including that disbursement, everything else. And there's a $500 of pending trust transfer. That's your money to be moved from trust to general, and you are waiting for a remainder of the $30.30 that the client owes as a payment over and above that trust, right? So anything in red, grab it, grab the opportunity to make that money. So click on the transfer button. Okay. And this is where you're going to pause. You click the transfer button, and it brings out those two, the disbursement for $75, as well as the legal fee, or you can just choose the stop button and it chooses it all. Even though the invoice was for $538.30, we're only allowing you to transfer $500, so uLaw keeps you trust compliant all through. So you move this from your trust account into your general account. Let's say you write yourself a check. Or in Ontario, if you do an electronic fund transfer, and this is where you open up your TD account or CIBC account and move money from your trust account into your general account electronically. If you do so, you do that, put the reference number, and then do the transfer in uLaw. We know that we have to provide you with a Form 9A that's pre-populated with all the information. So in Ontario, every time you do an electronic fund transfer for monies from trust to general, you have to fill out this particular Form 9A. And we pre-populate this for you, but you can always add to this. Okay? You sign this, and you file it along with your matter. And that's pretty much it. That's truly our life cycle of going from creating a client, doing the conflict screening, creating a law society compliant matter file number. You deposited the funds in trust, right? We did that retainer. We did the work. We did any disbursements. We just did the transfer of the funds. You've delivered obviously the invoice and sent him that. What's still pending? If you click on the question mark, you know is that dollar amount of 38 that he owes you. You can either call him or you can integrate with credit card payment companies and incorporate a link like this in your invoice where the client can actually pay you at their own leisure. So in this case, you could say, you sent that link. Let's look at this. This is Mr. Henry Gonzalez. Now, Henry Gonzalez could potentially pay you right from the convenience of his home, right? Now, he gets a copy of this email with the transaction number. You would get an email as well. Every time you get paid, you would just take that reference number, click on the payments, tell us that you got it through a credit card, the amount of $38.30, put it into your general account, give them a receipt for that payment, and hit apply. That information gets saved. We give you a receipt, and you can choose a theme that you like. And here's a final payment receipt. Now, the last step in the process is if there are any court forms to be filled, we have this concept called additional parties, where you can add a party. So let's say this was a slip and fall, and let's say Henry was your plaintiff. You can add a defendant. Obviously, creating their contact in your contacts menu option is a prerequisite. So I do already know that there's a person by the name Steffi Kraft who's a contact. I'm just going to add her as a defendant in this matter. And I'm going to add Steffi's representative, who's the opposing paralegal. That's Stefan Edberg. Okay, so now you've got the plaintiff, who's Henry. Roger Moore is Henry's legal, lawyer or paralegal. You've got a defendant, and you could have multiple defendants as well. Let's say document generation, forms, come to the small claims court, and maybe the plaintiff's claim. And let's say this is the courthouse in Mississauga. There it is. There's a claim number. You can put that in as well. The date, and then hit the download button. And what uLaw does is we update the court forms as and when they change within 2 weeks from when they're available on the website. So you don't have to go to the individual court form site to download these forms. We give all of that to you right away in this one single platform. So for small claims, it comes out in a Word fashion. For landlord and tenant, it does it so in a PDF version, right? And there it is. Got all the court form information filled in, the name, Henry Gonzalez, his address. Obviously, this is an editable Word document, right? You can change the information here. You got your information, who's the lawyer here, the defendant, Steffi Graf, all her information, and Mr. Stefan Edberg, who's the representative, all of his information. Basically, just tell us what the amount you're claiming, and that's it. You basically file this claim. Okay? This, again, not rocket science, but definitely a time saver, where we reduce the amount of handwriting that you have to do or hand typing that you may have to do to fill these very repetitive forms. Retype it all again, right? With the information already being here, you can generate these court forms at a click of a button again and again. Once you're done with this matter, you're just going to go ahead and mark this as closed. Now, for all the effort that you put in to capture the work that you've done and raise the invoice as and when it happened, what we give you at the behind the scene are all Law Society compliance documents that you can start generating right away. So for example, I'll go into my ledgers and do a client's trust ledger. I'll do it for the month of February. Okay? And do it for all my clients for the month of February, including Mr. Henry Gonzalez. And this is presented to you. You didn't have to generate this report. We generate this report for you in the same format that it's expected from the Law Society. So you could go ahead and just Control F and say Henry. There it is. And the information is exactly how it's required to be as per the bookkeeping guidelines. You received that $500 retainer, was a receipt in your trust. That was the balance in trust. Then you had a $75 disbursement, right? And then you had a $425 transfer, making that $500. Right? That made up that $500, and the remaining went into your client's general, the $38.30, to remember. So if I were to do a general ledger real quick, you would start to notice the other side of the story. So this is Mr. Henry Gonzalez's trust ledger. And let's look at Henry. Here's Mr. Henry Gonzalez's general ledger. You had an application fee, which is for $75, right? You had then $463 worth of effort, which was the taxes of $53.30. Absolutely. So the question is, does uLaw permit to enter client data from ledger details a few months ago? Absolutely, you can. You just create the file, you create the client, and just make a simple entry. We, in fact, have a help file called tutorials that illustrates those 3 steps that you have to do to how you bring in predated general and trust ledgers. Okay, that will be help video number 3 and 4. These are quick 2-minute videos that help you through the process, but the answer is yes. Step 3, reconciling a trust account, is predating and bringing it, and then same thing for your general accounts. Okay? So all under accounts document generation is where you see all the reports, journals, balances, or even come under compliance when you start to generate all these documents. So right here, I'd like to pause, quickly reiterate what we did today, and then take a break from today's session, let you enjoy using the trial so that we can reconvene where I will focus in my next session, the ability for you to enter office expenses. We'll focus on the trust reconciliations, the different ledger documents, even many of the reports such as fee book, expense revenue statements, profit loss statements, etc. Okay? Let me stop this recording.